Elasticity of supply. What do you mean by elasticity of supply? We have already seen the law of supply. Whenever there is a change in the price, there is a change in the supply. Price and supply have a direct relationship. When price increases, the supply, quantity supplied also increases. When price falls, the quantity supplied also falls. So there is a direct relationship between price and supply. But we do not know how much there is an increase or decrease in the quantity supplied whenever there is a change in the price. So elasticity of supply helps us to understand the degree of responsiveness of change in supply to change in price on the part of seller. So elasticity of supply may be defined as the degree of responsiveness of change in supply to change in price on the part of the seller. There is a change in the supply because there is a change in the price. Mathematically, elasticity of supply can be expressed as proportionate change in supply divided by proportionate change in price. So elasticity of supply can be abbreviated as ES. Elasticity of supply, ES, is equal to proportionate change in supply divided by proportionate change in price. So what are the types of elasticity of supply? We have already seen this in the second chapter when we studied about demand, the elasticity of demand, the types of elasticity of demand. So this is also similar to the elasticity of demand. Elasticity of supply is similar to elasticity of demand. So what are the types of elasticity of supply? First one, relatively elastic supply. E greater than 1. Here E stands for elasticity of supply. Relatively elastic supply means E greater than 1. Unitary elastic supply, E is equal to 1. Relatively inelastic supply, E lesser than 1. Perfectly inelastic supply, ES, that is elasticity of supply, is equal to 0. Perfectly elastic supply, ES, is equal to infinitive. Diagrammatically, on the x-axis we have marked the supply and on the y-axis we have marked the price. Let us see the first case. Elasticity of supply is relatively elastic, E greater than 1. This is relatively elastic supply. How do I say it is relatively elastic supply? See the change in price. Initially the price was A, OA. Now the price has increased to C. From A it has gone to C. So there is an increase in the price. When there is an increase in the price, there is an increase in the supply from B to D. But the increase in supply from B to D is more than the increase in price from A to C. A to C லிருந்து increase ஆகிற price உடைய increase காட்டிலும் B to D supply increase ஆகிறது ஜாஸ்தியா இருக்கு. So elasticity of supply is greater than 1. இங்க டிஃபரன்ஸ் பாருங்க, இங்க இருக்க டிஃபரன்ஸ் கம்மியா இருக்கு, ஆனா இங்க இருக்க டிஃபரன்ஸ் எப்படி இருக்கு, ஜாஸ்தியா இருக்கு. So elasticity of supply is greater than 1. Look at this diagram. Initially the price was OA. Now the price has increased from OA to OC. So there is an increase in price from A to C. So naturally there is an increase in the supply, quantity supplied from B to D. See the change, it is equal. The change from A to C is equal from the change from B to D. So here elasticity of supply is equal to 1. Suppose இங்க change வந்து 5 இருக்குன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்க. Okay? இங்கேயும் change 5 இருக்குன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்க. அப்போ என்ன ஆகும்? 5 divided by 5 is 1. Okay? Look at this graph. Change வந்து ஜாஸ்தி இருக்கு. Change வந்து ஜாஸ்தி இருக்கு. 10 இருக்கு. ஆனா இங்க change எவ்வளவுதான் இருக்கு? 5 தான் இருக்கு. For simplicity purpose, I am just giving a number. இங்க வந்து change வந்து 10. Price வந்து 10 இதுக்கு change ஆயிருக்கு. 10 rupees increase ஆயிருக்கு. ஆனால் குவான்டிட்டி டிமாண்டட் வந்து கம்மியாக தான் இன்க்ரீஸ் ஆயிருக்கு 5. அப்போ சேஞ்ச் இன் சப்ளை எவ்வளவு 10. Okay, change in supply is 5. I'm sorry, change in supply is 5 divided by 10. அப்போ எவ்வளோ வரும் 0.5. Okay, that is 1/2 வரும். halfனா என்னது 0.5. 0.5 is lesser than 1. So elasticity of supply is lesser than 1. Look at this graph. On the x-axis we have marked the supply. On the y-axis we have the price. There is a big change in the price from A to C போயிருக்கு. Price வந்து A to C போயிருக்கு. சும்மா ஈஸியாக இருக்கிறதுக்காக let me assume it as 5. But there is no change in the quantity supplied. There is no change in the quantity supplied. So 0/5 will give you 0. There is no change in the supply. Supply அப்படியே தான் இருக்குது, சேஞ்சே ஆகலை. ப்ரைஸில் சேஞ்ச் இருக்குது, ஆனால் சப்ளையில் எந்த விதமான சேஞ்சும் இல்லை. The last diagram, there is no change in the price. ப்ரைஸில் இருக்க சேஞ்ச் நம்மளுக்கு தெரியவே இல்லை. But there is a change in the supply. There is a change in the supply. Suppose if you imagine this to be 10 and there is no change in the price, it is 0. So 10 divided by 0 will give you infinitive. So these are the types of elasticity of supply. If you are not able to understand, you can go through the video in the second chapter, Elasticity of Demand. You see that, and along with that you also study elasticity of supply, then it will be easy. Similarly, when you study the law of demand, you study the law of supply from the third chapter, then you will be able to understand it better. Likewise, the factors determining demand and the factors determining supply, factors determining elasticity of demand and factors determining elasticity of supply. All this, if you study side by side, the second chapter and the third chapter, you will find it easy. The last one is factors governing elasticity of supply. Factors governing elasticity of supply. So we have that under 4 heads: nature of commodity, cost of production, technical condition, and time factor. So this is the last part of chapter 3. So what are the factors governing elasticity of supply? First one is nature of commodity. So if the commodity is a durable good, it can be stored for a long time. So the producers can wait until they get a price, high price. Durable goods means like fridge, TV, goods that can be used for a longer period. Okay. So, and it can be used several times. They are only called as durable goods. So durable goods can be stored for a long time, so the producer can wait until they get a high price. Whereas perishable goods, perishable means ஈஸியாக அழுகி போடுறத வந்து நம்ம பத்திரப்படுத்தி அப்படியே வச்சு நாளைக்கு விலை ஜாஸ்தி ஆகினா விற்கிறோம் அப்படின்னு சொல்ல முடியாது. ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் ஃபிஷ், ஃப்ளார், ஓகே, all that you cannot store for a very long time and then you can decide to sell. விலை ஜாஸ்தி ஆகணுன்னே நான் செல் பண்ணுறேன்னா வெயிட் பண்ண முடியாது. Durable goods can be stored for a long time, whereas perishable goods have to be sold immediately. So the elasticity of supply for durable goods is high and the elasticity of supply for perishable goods is low. Next is cost of production. When production is subject to either constant or increasing returns, additional production and therefore increased supply is possible. If the returns is constant or increasing return, supply is possible and elasticity of supply will be great. If it is diminishing, எவ்வளோதான் காசு போட்டாலும் எனக்கு லாபமே வரலன்னு சொல்லும் போது the elasticity of supply will be less. Next is technical condition. In large scale production with huge investment, supply cannot be adjusted easily. In large scale production, supply cannot be adjusted easily. So the elasticity of supply is lesser. Where capital equipment is less and technology is simple, the supply is more elastic. So for large scale production, the elasticity of supply is less. For less technology and technology where the technology is very simple, the elasticity of supply is more elastic. Last one factor. The last one is time factor. During very short period, supply cannot be adjusted and so the elasticity of supply is very low. During the very short period, When the supply cannot be adjusted, elasticity of supply is very low. In the long period, when supply can be adjusted, elasticity of supply will be very high. So in the short period, elasticity of supply is very low, and in the long period, elasticity of supply is very high. So this is the end of chapter 3. Please do your homeworks regularly. Start writing your classworks even for the third chapter. Write all the classwork chapters 1, 2 and 3 with the date. Okay. Thank you, girls.